All right, let's dive in. We're about to explore a hidden world that's right under our feet, maybe even right outside your door. It's the urban forager's frontier. And trust me, this little journey could completely change how you see the city you live in.
So think about it for a second. When you look around your city, what do you see? Is it just a concrete wasteland? A sterile landscape of buildings, pavement, and traffic? For a lot of us, that's kind of the default view.
But what if that's not the whole story? What if I told you that hidden in the sidewalk cracks, along chain-link fences, and in those forgotten little patches of dirt, there is a thriving, edible ecosystem just waiting for you to notice it?
And that brings us to the heart of it all, urban foraging. It's a simple idea, really. It's the art and science of finding and harvesting wild food that's already growing all around us in our cities. The key thing here? No farming required.
Okay, so let's start peeling back that layer of gray. It's time to uncover this hidden edible city and find the surprising amount of green that's been there all along. So what's with this number 83%? Well, this is pretty staggering. Some research suggests that in a huge city like New York, up to 83% of all the tree species have at least one forageable use. Just let that sink in. That's a massive untapped resource hiding in plain sight.
To really tap into this, you've got to get to know the locals. So let's meet a few of your most common urban allies. These aren't just weeds, okay? These are resilient survivors that are thriving right next to you, and they can be incredible partners in our urban world. Our first ally is a plant you have probably stepped over 1,000 times without a second thought. This is purslane, and I'm calling it the omega-rich succulent. It absolutely loves growing in the cracks of hot sidewalks, and believe it or not, it's a nutritional powerhouse. But hold on, before you run outside, safety first, always. Purslane has a toxic lookalike called spurge, and knowing the difference is, well, it's non-negotiable. Here's the number one tell, the sap. If you break a stem on purslane, the sap is clear and watery. But spurge, it bleeds this milky white latex that can really irritate your skin. Once you know that, the other differences pop right out. Purslane has these thick, fleshy stems and succulent leaves. Spurge is thin, woody, and its leaves are almost paper thin.
Once you're sure you've got the right plant, the benefits are amazing. We're talking one of the best plant-based sources of omega-3s out there. It has this great, mild, nutty flavor with a little hint of lemon. And the fact that it thrives in the harshest city spots just makes it a true survivor.
All right, let's move on to our next ally, and this is one we all know, the dandelion. But I want you to stop seeing it as a pest in your lawn and start thinking of it as a multi-utility generalist, a plant where literally every single part is useful.
And I mean, it is incredibly versatile. The young leaves, they're fantastic in salads, kind of like a peppery arugula. You can fry the flowers into these delicious fritters, and the roots, if you roast them, they make a surprisingly good coffee substitute. And on top of all that, the whole plant is just loaded with vitamins. Okay, our third ally is another one you see everywhere. It's called plantain, the roadside remedy. And no, not the banana-looking fruit. This is a leafy green that people have been using for its medicinal properties for centuries. Now here's a fantastic little trick for identifying plantain. If you gently tear one of its leaves, the veins inside are super strong and they stay intact. They look just like tiny little guitar strings. It's so cool. And medicinally, it's famous as a natural spit poultice. You just chew it up a bit and put it on a mosquito bite or a sting, and it really helps soothe the irritation. It's like a first aid kit and a vitamin-packed green all in one. Of course, the city isn't some pristine wilderness, right? To do this safely, you have to navigate some unique urban dangers. I like to think of them as the two trials every forager has to face: contamination and misidentification. So trial number one is contamination. Our urban soils are basically historical records, and sometimes they contain some nasty stuff like heavy metals. For instance, lead from old paint and gasoline loves to accumulate in the roots of plants like dandelions. And cadmium from tire wear, that can show up in broadleaf plantain. This is exactly why knowing the history of the spot you're foraging in is so important. The second trial, and this is the big one, is identification. This brings us to the golden rule of foraging. And if you remember one thing, make it this. You must be absolutely 100% certain of what you've picked before it ever goes near your mouth. There are zero exceptions to this rule.
And here is exactly why that rule is so critical. Take a look at wild carrot versus the lethally toxic poison hemlock. At a quick glance, they can look dangerously similar.
but the details will save your life. Wild carrot has hairy stems, and it smells like, well, carrots. Poison hemlock is smooth, hairless, often has these purple splotches on the stem, and it has a foul, musty smell. Knowing these differences is, and I mean this quite literally, a matter of life and death.
Okay, now that we understand the risks, let's talk about solutions. This isn't about scaring you off, it's about empowering you with knowledge. So let's build our Forager Safety Kit, the tools and the rules you need for a safe and ethical harvest.
Now, washing what you gathered means more than just a quick rinse under the tap. Here's a science-backed 3-step protocol. First, a soak in some vinegar and water can help reduce heavy metals like cadmium. Second, a wash in a baking soda solution is surprisingly effective at breaking down surface pesticides. And finally, for any roots, nothing beats a good old-fashioned scrub to physically remove any lead-contaminated soil.
But safety isn't just about you, it's also about the environment. The guiding principle for ethical foraging is simple, but it's powerful. Always, always aim to leave a place better than you found it.
To put that principle into action, the Calise code is a really great little mnemonic to remember. Harvest from clean sites, be accurate in your ID 100%, take a light harvest, never more than 10% of a patch, be legal, respect property laws, be enriching, pick up a little trash while you're out there, and finally be safe. Always test just a small amount of any new food first to see how your body reacts.
When you combine all this knowledge with an ethical framework, something really amazing starts to happen. It becomes more than just about finding free food. Foraging fundamentally changes the way you see your city. It gives you a completely new urban vision.
Because you start to realize these plants are actually telling a story. They're way more than just food. They are biological sensors. Those dandelions absorbing lead, or the plantain taking up cadmium, they are reflecting the long-term health of that specific patch of ground. They make the invisible history of the soil visible to us.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. By learning to read these stories and to interact with this hidden ecosystem in a responsible way, we do so much more than just feed ourselves. We reconnect with our environment on a really profound level. So what if the key to a healthier, more resilient city isn't in some grand top-down plan, but is already growing, right there in the cracks?